Hey Flosstube, it's Laurie of Mischievous Stitches. I'm back again today with a continuation of yesterday's Whip Parade video. I got so much great response from you guys about continuing with the Whip Parade. It seemed like so many of you are just like me, and Flosstube is an escape from everything that's been going on around us the past few weeks. I enjoyed it. I'm happy to do it again. I doubt very seriously we'll get through my whips again today, but I think I will continue on with these videos into the next few days. The times that I do them may vary, but I'm going to continue on with them. So I'll show you what I've been up to for this day, and then we'll start in with the whips. So today I woke up with the intentions of finishing a couple previous finishes, fully finishing. And today this is one of the pieces that I'm showing or finishing. So I'm showing. This is In Full Glory by Blackbird Designs. I finished it sometime last year. I think in Mania. I was doing Whip Mania. And I finished this piece. And I've already ironed a piece of interfacing over it. I'm going to finish it into a little pin pillow. I'm going to show you this piece because the In Full Glory will be finished similarly to this one. I finished stitching this piece in 2017. It was a piece that was gifted, kitted up and gifted to retreat attendees. And so I used some Shakerwood Woolens wool. I made a few decorator stitches here with some wool thread, added some wooden buttons, and used one of Vanna, the Twisted Stitcher's videos, finishing videos. And of course this is 2 pieces of wool with a hole in anyway, the hole that I used for the stuffing. That's how I chose to sew it. I can hold my own with a sewing machine, but I'm not an accomplished quilter or sewer by any means. I am knowledgeable enough to be dangerous. But this is a previous finish and I really like it. And I plan on finishing In Full Glory very similarly, with the exception of, excuse me, with the exception of just a different color wool. I plan on using this. This is khaki colored wool from Shakerwood Woolens, which is a, you can find Shakerwood Woolens on Instagram, and they are based in South Carolina, in Rock Hill, South Carolina. But I plan on using this. It perfectly matches the khaki brown color in the border. And then I also have some wool thread that matches as well. And so I'm going to use these. I'm not sure exactly, in my mind's eye, I don't have exactly how I want to place everything. But as far as embellishments, I will not use buttons, but I will use some military pins and buttons that I have found over the past couple of years in antique shops and things. So there's just different ones. And these are some of the ones that I've chosen to put on it. Excuse me just a second. I only get a tickle when I'm talking. So I think the first one was an army button. And this one, of course, is a naval button. And then these are just some of the old bars from Jacob's time and in his NJROTC unit here when he was in high school. And I have some of his ribbons too, but I'm not going to put those on. I'm just going to put just a few. And those are the ones I've chosen out of my little box. So I'm going to get to work on that later today. I also took some ribbon, and it was very start white, and it's coming up a little whiter on this video than it actually is as well. Here I go again, excuse me. Excuse me. So what I did do this morning is put this in some coffee. So I coffee stained it. And I'm probably going to coffee stain it one more time But in the pattern cover of this piece, they did have a small piece of ribbon similar to this that they had. It was aged and then it was attached with some buttons. They were just regular buttons, but I'm going to finish it similar to that. So I'll show that to you. I'll finish that up today, and then I'll probably show that to you on Saturday to show you what I come up with. Now let's get to the whips. Today I pulled out a few whips that I have in a different tote. I have this big tote, and then I have a tote that I take when I go to visit my friend Mary. And over in past videos, if you've watched me for some time, 2 or 3 times a year I'll get together with my friends Donna, Natasha, and Mary. And we call it Mary Mania, and we get together and we start new things, same patterns together. It may be a designer that we start. We just enjoy each other's time, and stitching is the thing that brings us to, we use it as an excuse to get together, but it's really, for me, it's just the friendship and being with them. So it really doesn't matter what we're doing. I just enjoy their company. But these are just a few of the things that I have started with them over the past couple years, and I wanted to share them with you. I'm going to cough more today than yesterday, but I apologize. This is in my books upstairs, but it's a Paula Vaughn, and it is out of one of the books, and this is Job's Tears. And of course I can't show you the picture, but it's a Singer sewing machine in front of a lacy curtained window with a quilt on the machine, and this is my small start on that. And of course, this is some of the curtains. If you can just imagine, these are the folds in the curtain as it comes down in front of the window. And my thought was to finish this up because I do have an old Singer machine and I'm currently trying to redo Chelsea's old room, and I want to put that machine in there, and I'd love to have this finished and framed on the wall behind that machine. And I have this in a So Much to Love bag. That is one of the things that Mary has many of us, the So Much to Love bags, and I grabbed one as well. It's a beautifully made bag, and I love the fabrics, and I believe you can find her on Etsy. This is another bag, and it houses Sampler Cove's Midnight in the Garden. This is I think you call it, is it a clocks sampler? To me, it's very similar to Quaker, as in the motifs. They're all similar. And I made a small start on this. I was using some of Nancy Turner's threads, and this is, I've got Flow Dark, Flow Blue Dark, and Flow Blue Light. And that's what I'm using to stitch this with. The pattern actually calls, I believe, for 2 different colors, and I just decided to make it a monochrome and using different shades, and it's going to be absolutely stunning when it's finished. It's a beautiful piece. I love those colors. It's going to be a big piece, but beautiful. So when I go to Mary's, the thought is I just pick up that tote and I go with it. So over the weeks when we're chatting and talking, because Mary's about 2 hours from me, so we spend a weekend together normally, and what I end up doing is just things we talk about, or things I want to share, or things we're finishing up together. I just put in that tote, and then I'm ready to go when it's time to go to Mary's. So I don't really take any of these, stitch on them anywhere outside of Mary's. This is another one we started last year. Oh, and this bag, this is from Olivia here on Flosstube, Pumpkin Hollow Quilts. This is one of her bags. She can be found on Etsy too. This is one of my bags. It's just a project envelope. I got the information about how to make them off of Vanna the Twisted Stitcher. Okay, this is a lavender and lace. I have very little done on this one. This is one of the Christmas Santas. This is Santa in the Forest. I love this one. I've always wanted to do it. I love using all those beautiful reds. And I've gotten very little done on this one. Stitching on 30 count flax Edinburgh linen, and I just have the majority of the outline of a bear's face there. And it would be great to have that finished up and on the wall at Christmas. The only piece I've ever stitched that really drew my husband in was the Mirabilia Santa, if you know which one I'm talking about. I finished that one up one year, and as I was stitching it, it just had his attention. He was always commenting on that piece. And so that year I finished it up before Christmas, and on the piece it has a little tag that says to and from, and I put to Clint from Santa, and I had it framed and gifted it to him that Christmas, and we hang it up every year. But I would like to have this one hanging up too. This is another Laurie bag. And this is, oh, I don't have to show you this one because I've not started it. It's actually Indigo Lane by Brenda Gervais. It's just kitted up. That's one that we were going to start together. This one we started last year as well. This is Leeds House Sampler. And Donna, I believe, just finished hers up. She did hers on a coloring cotton fabric, I believe. This one is stitched with the, what do you call these? Oh my goodness, what are these threads called? I'll remember when the video's over, but so using one strand of this is like using 2 strands of DMC because they're a little thicker. And these were specifically for Leeds House Sampler. As you can see right there, Rosewood Manor Leeds House Sampler. And I chose to do mine on a green fabric, and it is a Wilchelt fabric, so it's very stiff. But I think it's called Lily Pad is the name of the fabric. And this is where I am. I do like stitching with those threads. They are nice. And like I said, this was did I keep the... Normally I stitch things with 36 to 40. This particular pattern calls for 28 count. So this is more than likely this is 32. But because of the thickness of the thread, I didn't want to mess it up by going on a higher count and then it not working well. So this will be the first piece that I've ever stitched with these threads that I can't remember the name of. And this is a bag that was made by my friend Mona. It's similar to the ones that I made, but she is much more accomplished at it than I am. And I love all things fall and poinsettia. This is an empty bag. This is one of the ones I finished this year. Okay, so we're going to start here. I think this is where I marked where we stopped yesterday. So this is another Olivia bag from Pumpkin Hollow Quilts, and this houses another one that I've kitted. I'll just show it to you anyway. This is a new needlework press release from last year. Is it Biedermeier? Am I saying that right? And this is what it'll look like when it's finished. This is the actual antique. And this is a clearer version of how it's going to look. And I chose to stitch it on this fabric. And of course I have the threads in here, but I'm using DMCs. This is legacy linen that I'm stitching it on. And of course, I've not made a start. So I'm just going to put it back up. So that's good to know. Not all of them actually are whips. So I need to put this one to the side because this is just kitted. It's not a whip. Okay. This is a Lisa Kindred Stitcher bag. I love her little zipper pulls, but I loved this fabric when I saw it on her. She has a her regular Instagram page, and she has another one for her bags. And this is the Prairie Store Christmas Eve. I started this at some point last year, put it down, and then we had Christmas in July to celebrate Diana of It Is Kismet Stitches' birthday. And so I picked it up again then and made a little progress and have not picked it up since. But this is my piece. And I'm stitching it on 32 count lamb's wool linen with 1 strand over 2 with DMC threads. So those that are curious how 1 strand would look on 32, this is it. You can see some of the white peeking back, but think if it were framed and it was hanging on a wall, you're not going to be like this. Unless you're a stitcher, then you're going to be like this. But if you're just a normal family member and you're coming in to look, you're not going to see it. So I like that it's a little, I wouldn't say dull is not the right word, but it looks like it has a filter over it. Because the colors are a little more muted than they would be without because it's not stitched with 2 threads. And I showed the pattern. Did I show the pattern? And this is the inside of the bag. Beautiful, beautiful. Let's see what else we got in here. I don't have this one down there. That was a silk gauze piece. I don't have it down here. This is Not Forgotten Farm, and it is Needful Things. It's Thomas. And I started this piece at a retreat in Hiawassee, Georgia, at the barn several years ago. Met some of you there. And this is my start on this. It's a 40 count. I think this is one of the first things I did stitch on 40. And you've just got, you can tell this is, the bulk of his body is that gray. And then that's his wing up there on his chest. So, look how thick and dense that this linen is. I think it's actually higher than 40. Because I know when you have fabric and then you dye it and you wash it and then you iron it, it shrinks sometimes. So what may have started off at, say, 36, might be 42 once it goes through the process. And I think that's one of those cases there. This is a piece I bought in New Jersey at the first New Jersey retreat last year. We got this, actually, we got this from Lila Studios. There was a problem with the printing of this pattern, and Lila had it reprinted, and because of that, she gifted these patterns to anyone who bought one of her patterns at that store that weekend. And so I did buy several other things, and this is my start on that. And I'm stitching this with the called for over dyed threads, and it's on a 40 count. I really like it. My plan is when I finish this to make it into a needle book. I think it'll be beautiful with that. And this is another silk gauze piece. Yeah, it is in here. This is Noah's Art by Kathy Barrick. And I decided to start this as a silk gauze piece. And I don't know if you can see that. And you can see through it actually, see? But that is a giraffe, a bluebird. Let me see. A giraffe, a bluebird, a couple of bees, a rabbit, maybe a horse and a cow. And the background will be filled in. That's not been filled in yet. It's easier to do the horses or the animals and then come back and do the background instead of vice versa. So eventually that'll be filled in. So I want you to see the comparison. Oops, excuse me. There's this. It's going to be tiny. And I love that. So there's that. The next one is a Victoria. I've not even started this. I bought this years ago. I never started it. I kitted it up. And at the time, all of us in the shop were buying these to put our projects in. And I bought all the supplies, and I was, a young mother, and we didn't have a lot of money. And I bought the supplies, and they were so expensive, and I have never stitched it. So the Victoria sampler, and this is silk wisteria. It's beautiful. The fabric is a very pale blue. Got a package. The mailman's here. This is a design by Moss Creek Designs. This is Raspberry Welcome. I started this some time ago. I need to go for just a second. Nope. And this is where I started. You can tell by the wrinkles it's been folded for some time. I have finished all the work around the edges, so it has some detailing stitches, specialty stitches around the edges. This is done with flower threads. And over on this side, there is a cut work squirrel. So very little stitching. I've done all of the border. And it looks like I've still got a little bit of pull work to do in the border. But the majority of the border is done in the W. So I just need to finish the words, the flowers, and then do this cut work squirrel. And I quit because at the time that cut work squirrel was very intimidating. I was a relatively new stitcher, and it's when I was first introduced to a shop and they did classes and I wanted to take all of them. And I learned all kinds of wonderful things, but sometimes things just intimidated me, just like they do now. We're going to do a few more, and then, oh yeah. This is definitely on I need to finish it. This is the Prairie Store alphabet. These are all the charts. And I've had this too for some time. And this, I printed this off in 2010. This was Vonna the Twisted Stitcher at the time, was just a blogger, not a floss tuber. And she had did all the conversions for us with how to start all these on one piece. And here is my start, and I absolutely love it. But I'm only through D. And this is definitely, I need to stitch it someday, finish stitching it someday. They're beautiful. D, I think, is my favorite. I love that Americana eagle there at the bottom. I love this one as well with the ship. They're all just gorgeous, but this will be it when it's done. And this is one over 2 on, is it 32? You look at, let me refer to Vanna's notes. No, it's 28. Let me check. It's 1 over 2 on 28. It's beautiful. I just need to do it. But this would probably take the better part of a year if I just focused. Because there's what, 26 of them, and I have 4 done, so there's still 22. If I did 2 a month, and it did take me about 2 weeks to do one. Here I go again. Go Gamecocks. This is something that helps me. There's probably others out here that do this. I don't use ice cubes. I buy from Sam's a pack of frozen fruit. And in the pack there may be, I think there's 8 actually smaller packages of the fruit. Instead of using ice cubes, I just put frozen fruit in my drink to keep it cool. And the Tervis tumblers do really well with keeping your drinks cool. But instead of ice cubes, I use frozen fruit. Okay, let's move on. This one, I'm going to show you the pattern, and of course, the piece is on a scroll frame upstairs. Excuse me. This is another Victoria sampler. Did you hear that? That was the pattern sticking to my project bag because it's been in there so long. We did this at a class at my local stitch shop, Heirloom Stitching Sampler. And I think I am right here. I think I've done the white work here and starting in on the ladies' stitching. There were only a few of us, a couple of us that finished it, and I wasn't one of the lucky ones. We're going to do one more. And this is the Sampler Company, Brenda Keys. I started this for Mania in 17, and this is, the name of it is The Sailor's Wife. You know what? I ended up not starting it. It's just kitted. So I don't have to show you anything. There's nothing to show but a blank piece of fabric. You think we can squeeze in one more before this turns off? This is a class piece from a Spirit of Cross Stitch Festival in '98. I was pregnant with Jacob when I went to this class, and it is a needle roll class. And it is a piece by, and I don't even remember the name of the teacher because the paperwork here, I don't see where the teacher's name is listed. In a gentle fashion. So I've already figured out my initials. I got started in the class. They had already put in the piece of wool for your needles. I started with some specialty stitches there, as well as this is part of the outside. I think these are bullions. We called them maggot stitches because they were so frustrating, and they're like little worms. This has been eons ago. So you see, I keep stashing because I enjoy it, and I have all these pieces that could keep me busy for a long time if I just sat down and stitched them. So with that, I'm going to leave you for today. I hope everyone be safe, be well, and smile. One more thing though, before I go, don't forget your postcards. I'm sending out 4 more today. Carrier just left. They'll go out tomorrow. Spread a smile today. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.